Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news discussion and, of course, a lot of opinions about Brandon's works on the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm Weiry Writer.
Also joining us is Alyx.
Hello, I'm Feather Writer.
Also joining us is Jessie.
Hello, I'm Lady Lameness.
And lastly, we got Shannon.
Hey, you'll know me as Gray.
And I am Chaos, and today what we're doing, we're going back to Rhythm of War topics, although by the time this airs, I guess we'll have done some of them, but we're recording this. It's just how it works. I don't know. But we're getting back to talking about Rhythm of War, because there's still stuff to talk about, and I think this episode on Navani and Raboniel was absolutely on our list for, top, important things that we need to talk about Rhythm of War. And then just stuff happened. So it's just been a while. But, Navani's a main character in Rhythm of War. That's super cool. And so we're going to talk about Navani. We'll talk about Raboniel. We'll talk about their relationship together. There's lots to talk about. So I think we have to go to the biggest Navani stan, Ian, here, and talk about how much you love Navani in Rhythm of War, because I don't think that is in any question whatsoever to anyone.
It's just so good.
Why is it good, Ian?
Oh, put me on the spot. Words. How do I
You'll
explain
come up
things?
so well.
You'll edit so well
good
in the edit. Maybe, probably.
Yeah, you'll make it look so good in the edit.
Yeah, none of this will make it into the actual episode.
Hello, patrons.
You guys all froze for 20 seconds, so I didn't even hear any of what just happened. So
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. No, this is clearly just We've done no prep for this episode whatsoever.
No one reread the book.
We didn't reread the book. We're just we could probably BS through the Raboniel episode. I did a doc. It's a spare doc, but we have one, okay?
Rhythm of War release date.
Yeah.
So as has been discussed previously on the podcast, Navani is my favorite Stormlight character. She was not always my favorite Stormlight character. Okay. The first couple of reads, I liked her, but I didn't really think about her. I really liked Renarin, largely because of Alyx, and
as everyone should.
Yeah.
But listening to the Stormlight Archive graphic audios in the car with my parents, we were getting to the point where Navani was first introduced, and I just started thinking about Navani. I was like, oh my God, I love Navani. She's amazing. I love her.
And so, when was that again?
You mean in terms of actual year, or?
Yeah, sure. Which book?
What book?
Yeah, when was Navani your fave?
Well, it was rereading or listening to the graphic audio in Way of Kings when we were getting to the point where she's introduced, and I started actually thinking about Navani. It's we're finally going to meet Navani. That's exciting. And just realizing the character that she is. She is a caring mother, more or less. She is who she is.
We should probably talk about that.
Yeah.
But also her dedication to science is just interesting. And she's an engineer, and I'm not an engineer, but I do engineering adjacent things as a job. So it's that connection. It kind of reminds me of Brandon talks about the book that made him a reader, Dragon's Bane by Barbara Hambly, about how it helped him understand his mother more. And I get it. Once I realized how amazing Navani is, I understood Brandon a little bit more.
Yeah. Awesome.
I feel like Rhythm of War is just a book that if you didn't already like Navani, you probably come out liking her better. because I think her character really just shines in this book.
She does.
Just even from the very start of the prologue, I think it's one of the strongest like characterizing prologues that we get so far. I mean, like Yasna's is decent, but we already had a good picture of who Yasna was by the time we got her prologue. I think Navani really being in her head deeply for the first time there, and really getting this close-up look at like her and Gavilar's relationship, which even though Gavilar is gone by the time Rhythm of War is happening, you see how much of an impact that has had on her in the years since, and how much the way he treated her sort of shaped her impression of herself, and this way that he really preyed upon the insecurities he was able to pinpoint in her really did a number on her as a person. And Rhythm of War is a lot of her, sort of realizing how much of the way that Gavilar treated her was not true, that the things he said weren't actually accurate. And Raboniel has a lot to do with Navani realizing some of her own value in those ways, which is it's really cool. I'm really excited about this episode because I'm like, I can just like talk about their dynamics forever. It's great.
I mean, it's such a good line when Raboniel's like, if you're not a scientist, then no one is. Because what the hell?
Yeah, it's like, if you're not a scholar, I have never known one.
Yeah. It's like this such a good line. That's just like so impactful for Navani. Navani like I always liked Navani, but like definitely this book's like, Navani's really great.
I definitely had what Alyx was saying, and I actually found that with every one of the books, that the character that Brandon was highlighting in that book, I went into the book maybe not caring all that much about them and left the book loving them. So that was nice to get for Navani as well, and just like to have that trend continue outside of the big main three, right? So
same boat. I knew I liked Navani going into this book. I came out of it with like, oh my god, she's great. I love her. That was basically I think even from the prologue, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna fight an army. I'll fight specifically one man for Navani, but like I would fight an army for Navani. It was like, oh man, quick, like the characterization work. I'm just like, wow, Brandon, where did this all come from? Like Rhythm of War was so good on that, like putting a close pain on some characters, a close up, which I really liked. And oh my god, yeah, like I ended this book just full of love. So
yeah. Brandon did a really interesting thing here where the flashback character is not really the main character of the book. And like Brandon did talk about this as he was writing Rhythm of War, but it definitely threw some people off, I think. Because this is the first time he's done that. And Navani is really like, this is predominantly the Navani Kaladin show in this book, really, right? Where the main plot is in Urithiru, and Navani and Kaladin are the most important people there, right?
Yeah, it's like reading this book, already being a Navani stan, like getting like, and it's like, she's great, and like we've gotten viewpoints from her in every book, but she is a relatively minor character compared to the page time of the big three. So getting the spotlight on her in this book isn't something I was expecting. And like, and I know that this is the most Navani we're ever really gonna get.
Yeah.
Which is very bittersweet.
Yeah. Like, because we are gonna get more Dalinar in book 5, and like we definitely got less Dalinar, more Navani in Rhythm of War, right? Like that's sort of the thing. Like we're definitely gonna see Navani in book 5. There's a lot of story hooks for her.
Yeah, her presence will be felt and she'll be on screen, she'll be involved, but we won't be in her head as much, and she is not going to be the one driving the action the way she is in this book. Yeah,
totally agree.
Yeah, I think she does share a lot of screen time with Kaladin in this book, but we have had Kaladin focus before, whereas I think, as you guys were saying, this is the first time we really get a spotlight on Navani. Even before the sort of invasion, we get more Navani in the first part of this book than we have before either. Like, we start out in part 1 and it's this sort of like triumphant first use of the fourth bridge, which is this cool, amazing engineering project that she's been spearheading. And, we see her do the thing that she does, or she doesn't want to take a lot of credit for it happening. But we saw in Oathbringer, these were her sketchbook ideas. Yeah, it didn't look like what it came in the sketchbook, but like her idea was right there. And now it's like actually happening. And they have this giant, cool flying barge. And it's not that efficient. It's not very easy to use, but it works. And that's super cool. And, in the lead up to the invasion, we have her investigating the weird spheres that she saw with Gavilar and the strange, she's sort of grappling with the fact that some of her scholars died experimenting with this. There was that, the strange explosion that she couldn't figure out. And, they're working on the pulley system that with the hand glove. Like, she's got her hands in so many different projects, and we get to see a little bit more of that than I think we have before. Before, you just get like, oh, the plot sort of needs a device and Navani has been working on something. We just get to see the final results. This time we actually get to see her in sort of the planning stages and the process of a bunch of things.
Yeah.
It's kind of really nice.
Yeah. And like that does foreshadow, in my opinion, like the culmination of her arc, bonding the sibling at the end. Because she's like, oh, I'm not a scholar. Like, I'm just like, I'm doing admin work. I'm like bringing people together. Like that's the bondsmith thing. Like,
right. Yeah. That's fair. That is fair. Yeah. I think there are definitely people who are like, wow, there was a lot of magical science going on in this book. And I mean, you're not wrong. There was a lot of it. But it was very interesting to see Navani work and have her have the spotlight. So I think it's very cool. And well, I mean, it certainly led to a big deal with the anti-investiture.
There was huge things. What I think I liked about it, though, like as a person who doesn't really like magical science, this is where I kind of diverged from other people who didn't like the magical science bit, was that this was so tied into the character arc. You needed to be able to see that Navani actually knew what she was doing. Like, she was following like actual scientific process, and you'd follow her way of thinking. So we could actually, it kind of, in a way that other books don't do necessarily, they just say like, oh, this character went and did this, but they don't go in depth, and we don't see how they think, and we don't see how they got there. Whereas like seeing the process, I can see it being painful for people who don't really like magical STEM field stuff, but I also really liked it because for me it was less that I care about magic physics and more that I really felt like I believed that I can see her way of thinking. This is Navani really doing this. Seeing her going from not just point A to B, but C, D, E, reiterating and trying to find the answers. It was so good. I really liked that.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I love this sort of stuff. I was like, this is totally my jam, but also just like having Brandon represent a scientist really well in the story and really getting like the scientific process and making that feel believable. That was very well done. I definitely can't understand, though. People are like, okay, there's kind of a lot of this. It's like, that's fair.
And I do get the complaints. Like, I also really enjoy it. But I also think it's very important that Brandon did include it, because this is kind of the future of the Cosmere.
That is true.
Like, this is laying groundwork for books 10, 20 years from now that are going to be space age and like science-y and magic-y.
Yeah.
And like, this is where that begins. But also, he's made a real effort to give each of the books in the Stormlight Archive a distinct feeling. Like, the flashbacks go hugely into this, and the focus on the magical science in this book, because it's Navani's book, it's not necessarily going to be as present in books going forward. So it is another aspect that kind of flavors this book to set it apart from the others.
I think it just wouldn't have been quite as impactful as it was story beat wise if Brandon had gone more of the tell instead of show route, and he really did try and show a lot in this book with what Navani was actually doing. And he could have just said, like, Navani does this thing, fade to black, cutscene, but like to actually get more of that is like what Shannon was saying, like gets more of who she actually is. And like that makes a big difference in like the depth of her character and how she interacts with people, and finding out so much about her insecurities as well, and just how much that's tied up in everything that she does. And she just doesn't see how much she's even doing, like what she says with how she's just a patron, yet people like come to her to talk through their designs with her, which is not something a patron would do, but she just can't see past that. So it like, yeah, I don't think it would have worked nearly as well if Brandon hadn't gone into that depth for Navani's character.
Yeah, you need to see Navani grow and like learn, no, you are a scholar for sure. You're not just you're not just in charge of scholars, right? You are a scholar. You're the head scholar.
I also think it helps understand the imposter syndrome Navani has. Because if we just do the fade to black and then at the next scene, Navani has just discovered a new thing. And then and then we skip to fade to black again. And then she's like, and then she realized this didn't work. And then, moved on to the other thing that did work. It's like, that doesn't really help us understand like why she would doubt herself either. So I think it's also, that's just more of like the detail of why is it so important to get the nitty gritty of the scientific method here.
And I think that there's a lot of almost her imprisonment during the invasion almost gave her the space she needed from other scholars to be able to realize how much work she was able to do on her own. Which we're going to get into like the sort of Navani Raboniel interplay. But I think the fact that she was in her own room, she couldn't collaborate with anybody else aside from someone who is her captor, who she has, a hostile relationship with. She and Raboniel weren't, the kind of close collaborators that she's worked with in the past, where she's trying to inspire Raboniel to come up with these ideas that, she definitely had to do a lot of the legwork on her own and make her own discoveries without anybody else's help, and in many ways try to hide those discoveries from the people around her. And I think she has this instinct of whenever she collaborates with someone, she wants to give them all of the credit. Oh, it was their expertise. I just nudged them, that sort of thing. And she didn't have anybody else that she could foist that upon. She was sort of had to be confronted with how much she actually does in these projects. So it's kind of an odd thing that captivity helped her see.
Though wasn't it in part 3 that she still had her team of scholars, and then after that screwed up, then she was working on specifically the anti-investiture stuff in part 4, I think, and then she didn't have her scholars again? I think
she had like very limited interaction.
She had like runners between her
scholars.
Teams. Yeah.
Yeah, but she wasn't like face to face.
Yeah.
And I don't think she ever got to talk with them very much. It was like, she can like ask them to look into something. Yeah. But she has to stay in her room and do her own work, sort of a thing.
I think we're going to also bring this up later when we talk about Navani and Raboniel together. But something that also comes up is like, well, why did Navani even do this? Like, her research is going to be stolen by the enemy and used against her. So why did she even do this? And to that extent, that's sort of like asking of any character, why did you do this irrational thing that is like core to the drive of your soul? Like, it's like every time someone in a character in a story does something a little ill-advised for the purposes of, it's like, this is the reason is that this is so important to her that she would that she has to risk all the downsides because it's like it's so core to her. It's like, I don't know, it's like a cheating plot line. It's like, why would you do that? Why, like, everyone in the audience is like looking at you like, you stupid jerk. Like, why would you? Something is like, there is an internal draw that is sort of like, that was dumb. That, you know, or something like that. Whenever a character does something dumb, but is core to like, this is so important to her, she can't not do it. And
yeah,
that's I get that.
I wouldn't necessarily like say is like
cheating is the first thing that came to mind.
One,
yes.
This was probably a dumb move, but it's also, why does Kaladin fight back to protect Tef's unconscious form, like in his father's surgery?
Right.
Because if he didn't, he wouldn't be Kaladin. Why does Navani continue doing this research? Because if she didn't, she wouldn't be Navani. Like, that's just who she is.
That is all true. I can definitely understand the critique that's like, Navani, this is like really dumb. Like yeah, that's true, but like you've created a thing that can kill every Spren. Like, that's not great. And granted,
But
she didn't.
She knows she was going to kill Spren.
No.
She
She'd made the
didn't know. She was
anti-void
looking for like just the opposite. Like, what does that even mean? Like, she didn't know it was going to be a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. It's just, I'm not surprised if someone's like, yeah, okay, that was pretty dumb. And granted, I did not have this problem. Like, it seemed plausible that she would do this to me, but it definitely makes sense if someone's like, wow, that didn't go super great.
And it's also like, this has just occurred to me, but I'm sure I knew it back when I read this in 2020, whenever.
Yeah.
What if Navani did refuse to just not do it? I think like her people would have been hurt / killed. And,
yeah, that is true.
Raboniel
Totally.
had like the comatose radiance as a backup for all kinds of threats and coercion. And it's like, there are plenty of reasons. Like, she thinks like, I can research this and hide parts of what I'm discovering. That's and to me, that's totally reasonable.
True.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that, like, you can't really separate her making these decisions from the context they were in. Like, her relationship with Raboniel, like, was very integral to part of why she did what she did. And, like, there's that to consider. But there's also the idea that if I can figure it out first, then I can hide it. And I can stop the other person figuring it out. And that is kind of flawed thinking, but it is also something that someone in captivity with like people she cares about being held hostage, who can be held against her by someone who like seemed pretty like early on that we're given the fact that Raboniel like will just do what she needs to get what she wants. So I kind of never got the impression that Navani felt her other scholars were safe. So there was that pressure of, I'm the captive trying to keep people safe by doing this. But yeah, there's kind of a lot of other factors that really tie into it instead of it just being her doing what seems like a silly idea at the time.
Yeah.
And also, we have to remember, like, she did not single-handedly ruin the future of the world. It's like, yes, she discovered anti-lights. She's not the first person to discover anti-lights. Yeah, there were anti-lights in Gavilar's meeting. So, like, even if she didn't decide to do it, it was going to get out eventually.
Yeah.
I think it's worth acknowledging also for people who do feel like, oh my gosh, why did she do this? It was so dumb. She's handed this power to their enemies. I think there is a sense, at least the way that I came out of it was that Navani kind of gave as good as she got. And I think having very recently reread sort of the first scholarly interaction between Navani and Raboniel, there's a lot of like their first real conversation that they had. Navani learns a ton of things she didn't know. And I think there's a lot of that factoring into her sort of mental arithmetic of risk is like, she did learn, Raboniel learned things from her, but she learned a lot of things from Raboniel as well. And even though we obviously see sort of the immediate destructive potential of anti-light in the way that it can affect Radiant Spren, it also affects Fused that way. This is not a one-sided Navani has doomed humanity. This is both sides now have a new tool that has not existed in this war before. And
it's an end to the war. One way or another. It's like
nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I
It's
think
like the eternal war is not eternal anymore.
Which is necessary. It's like there needed to be some way to end the war for good.
Look, if your issue with Rhythm of War is, man, these Radiants are really powerful and the Fused are really powerful and they can't potentially die. It's like, well, Rhythm of War solved that problem. It's like, no, they totally can. We can totally kill them. We can kill your Spren, we can kill the Fused, and that's going to bring a lot more danger to things. How about we introduce and blab about Raboniel?
Raboniel. Love to talk about Raboniel.
Oh.
Raboniel, who is introduced to us off screen. This is the kind of character who it's like we get the build up from other characters first to say like, oh, she's so scary. She's so evil. And, you know, the first real thing we learned that she did was create this this plague, bioengineering a plague that turned out less effective than she hoped, but more effective than anyone else wanted it to be. And speaking of worldwide plagues, that's also the reason Argent can't be with us today.
That's true.
So Raboniel took him out at the knees before he could join us.
That's right.
So
That's right. Yep.
sorry, Argent.
Just trying to be topical. Yep.
Trying to be topical.
COVID was made in a fabrial. You heard it here first.
Raboniel, the lady of pains.
Did it. That's right.
Raboniel did it. God, that's a joke we couldn't have made 2 years ago.
Nope, sure isn't. Sure wasn't.
Oh,
Oof.
man. Okay. And so when she comes on screen, she's the kind of character it's like, what's she going to turn out to be like? And all of a sudden she's like, she comes off as super reasonable, like really scary still, but reasonable. And she's talking to Navani like there's an equal, like sort of, I don't know. It threw me. And I think that was exactly what Brandon wanted. This was a great introduction to the character. And it's really hard to separate because it's been a couple years since reading at this point. It's hard to sort of remember what I felt about her back then, because right now I'm just like, oh my God, I love her so much. She's the best. But I'm trying to go back to how I felt at the beginning. I think I was like, really like, she's really scary. She's a villain. Oh my God. What's she gonna do? And that was how I felt for the first few parts.
Yeah, and part of that is also Leshwi is afraid of her.
Yeah, that
and like
doesn't help.
Leshwi was kind of like the main Fused we got in Oathbringer, and like she was the scary one in Oathbringer. And in this book, she's great. We get to see Leshwi more and like understand her more and see that she's not as bad as we thought, but at the point where Raboniel is, we still think she's scary, and she thinks Raboniel is scary, and so transitive property, Raboniel becomes even more scary.
Like, I wish we, like, in the later parts of the book, I wish we still got like Raboniel being scary, but like, there's no question when you're reading part 2 and like Navani is like, she's going for the sibling. It's like, oh, that's not gonna be good. Or like when Kaladin meets Raboniel, like going after one of the nodes, I'm like, oh no, this is not gonna go well for you, Kaladin. I do still wish though in the later parts that we got some more Lady of Pains. Cause like she's not she isn't as scary as that intro, made it seem. Like, she definitely can be scary. And I feel like she just has her ambition ramped up to like 11. Like, she's happy to do what she feels is need to be done. And
I think that's the point, is that she's not actually meant to be this big bad boogie monster that she's like made up to be by the other Fuse. Like, she will just do what she thinks is the right thing to do, which is so much further than other people think is what is okay.
Right.
But like, she's not, like, she doesn't try and abuse her powers. She doesn't make you dislike her. Like, she is really reasonable. And I think the whole point of like, we don't see her be this scary person is that like, her scariness doesn't come from her trying to be like overbearing and scary. It comes from the decisions that she would make that like other people would find atrocious.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. She's not trying to become a caricature of herself like Lesian. Like, Lesian's whole deal is building up like the myth of the pursuer.
Right.
Which
he was scary in part one.
Part one and even some part two.
He was scary in part one.
I like part three when like Kaladin's starting to face him in your theory. Like, that is scary.
It's like Raboniel succeeds where Lesian fails, in that like Raboniel doesn't care what anybody thinks of her. She lets her action, other than like changing her name from Lady of Pain to Lady of Wishes.
Gently rebranded herself.
It's like, I don't like that. Like, we can tweak it. But she lets her actions speak for themselves. She's not going out there as like, I am the Lady of Wishes, be afraid of me, like Lesian does.
She just thinks that a plague that'll wipe out complete genocide of her enemies is a reasonable thing to do.
And if
she's
like 1 in 100 singers die, it's like, that seems worth it. Seems good.
It was less effective than she thought it was going to be. So she put it out into the world thinking it was going to be more singers dying.
Well, more humans dying, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, she wanted all humans dead, but they were like, oh, some singers are going to be affected by this, but it was less effective on both fronts. So
I will say, like, the one disappointment I had about Raboniel as a character, like going through this book, is like, we start off with the pure like plague like coming back into effect, and then we get this introduction of this like bio weapons chemist, and then it doesn't go anywhere.
That's true.
I just thought that there was something coming out of this, so that's probably my one disappointment about like how it was set up.
That's true. You've complained to me about this on several occasions, Jess.
It was just maybe an accidental red herring, but
probably.
Given the year that it released, I'm kind of glad it didn't.
That's probably for the best.
Could have been,
but
like, in hindsight.
How would Brandon know?
Brandon with his future sight.
Yeah, that was lucky.
Yeah.
What I like about Raboniel is that like even when she becomes like less scary later on, what she still succeeds as a villain because she's one of those like scarily competent people.
Yes.
No one gets away with fooling her. The heroes, like the little gambits they try against her fail. She's super competent. She knows what she's doing, and she's just like, aw, and then she keeps on doing what she was going to do anyway. Nice try.
Even like with Leshwi, Venli's like, why are we doing this nonsense fused politicking where it's like, ooh, you know that, but I'm not telling you this. And like, obviously, Raboniel like knows what's going on with most of these things.
Yeah, I know, like back when we just first had our Rhythm of War reactions, I loved what Brandon did with the Raboniel's character. I loved the sort of like bait and switch that we almost got in the way she's set up to, you expect the cruel mad scientist with no empathy who's willing to just do whatever it takes, and and I think when we're going into part 3 and we have like, oh no, Navani is now like at the mercy of this fused who has done these horrible things. Like, what is going to happen? And then it ends up being this like incredible collaboration between the two of them. And we see more of like Raboniel is a mostly reasonable person who respects people even if she disagrees with them. And I think making her so, she's not a good person, but she makes a lot of sense. And she's very, you can empathize with where she's coming from. And making someone who's like reasonable and likable, who you also can still see, oh yeah, she would make a bioweapon that would exterminate an entire race and a lot of her own side too, perhaps. That it's so much more of an interesting character than if she had been just the, oh, I'm manipulative and I'm going to destroy everything and you're at my mercy, Navani. Ha ha ha.
She would totally make a nuke and nuke Urithiru or something if she got all the secrets from Urithiru that she wanted.
Refreshing.
Yeah. And spinning off that,
an interesting character. Yeah. Go ahead.
Spinning off that. It's interesting that, like, I like that you said she is not a good character, because I agree. Because good person. What did I say?
She's a good character.
Good character. She is a good character. She's not a good person.
Different. But her character, like for character references, would be like, okay, well, you're not a good person.
He doesn't have good character. Yeah,
right. But she is a good character. Yeah.
Oh, God. English. No.
So sorry.
Because, like, in D&D terms, like, I would definitively put her as lawful evil.
Absolutely.
She is evil. Not all fused are evil. Like, I don't think the fused as a whole are evil. Like Leshwi, I don't think is evil. She's neutral. Particularly in Rhythm of War, I like the breadth of perspectives we get from the fused. Because in Oathbringer, they are kind of the new big bad, like scary, and it's like, no, they're still just people. Like, they're not all one thing. But she's one of my favorite kinds of lawful evil. She's likable. She makes you forget that she's evil.
Yeah.
So
she's not
until
cruel.
Like she does something and she's like, and you're like, oh, like this is totally in character. I forgot this is who she was. Like,
I was listening to you talk to the sibling the whole time. Yeah, that was a really bad idea. It's like, oh, that's really bad.
That moment hurt. That moment hurt.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah. And then in just a sibling like going silent on Navani, it's like, oh, yeah, you totally deserve that. But it totally makes sense. But oof. But yeah, you're totally right. Like, because Raboniel is reasonable in many situations, and you kind of get where she's coming from. She obviously has a different perspective than the humans, obviously, but is like this ancient, like very knowledgeable person, and it's like seems to be making pretty reasonable decisions given everything. It's like, that's very scary when you do the things that people say that you're going to do. It's like, oh yeah, it's pretty terrible.
This just reminded me of a scene from Wreck-It Ralph. There's like the counseling scene where it's like, just because you are a bad guy does not mean you are a bad guy. And it's like, Raboniel is the bad guy, but she's not the bad guy. It's like she's very personable. It's like she's the person. Like, I would put her in charge of stuff. Like, as long as I can moderate, like, what
with oversight
she's doing, like with oversight, like she's very competent. She'll get things done. As long as the things I want to get done, that's fine.
Well, it's like you can respect her because when she says what she wants, she's tired and she wants this war to end. She'd prefer her side to win, but like if she can't pick her side, then the war ending is like her ultimate good. And like, you can understand that even if you don't agree with her, how she's going about it. Like, she's understandable. You agree with her on things. And that's what makes her not just a caricature of a mad scientist. She's got real character, depth of character.
Yeah, like her motivations are understandable and like reasonable when you break it down to like what it is she actually wants. Like, she doesn't want to wipe out the other side. She wants the war to end. And that's something a lot of people do want. It's only when you start getting into the way she wants to go about it that like then there's some motivational issues, but like on a core level, like it is very easy to agree with what she wants to do. And like, it's not that she wants the war to end because like she thinks humans are evil or anything. She's just tired of war. She's Dalinar from the first book, but in a different story.
Ooh, that's a nice
I like that.
context.
Yeah.
They're both war criminals who are just tired. I don't want to be
Oh,
done.
she is war criminal. I mean, to be honest, probably most fused are war criminals at this stage. They've just had so many millennia.
Dalinar is a war criminal. She's just got as the memes in the past couple years have gone, Navani has a type. And there are people who have committed crimes.
Oh, yikes. Oh, that's really funny, though.
Not wrong, though. Not wrong.
That's really funny.
Another aspect of Raboniel I want to bring up is her daughter.
Ooh, you took the words right out of my mouth, Ian. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, because she first gets introduced as a fuse that has gone insane that sometimes is set to watch Navani. And there's the conversation where it's like she's asking for her mother, and Navani asks like, well, where is she? It's like everybody is like right here.
Stop.
And it's like, I thought if you put like relatives together, that would help people maintain sanity over thousands of years. And it's like, unfortunately, like that's one of my theories that was wrong. And then like she's the one Raboniel tested the anti-void light on.
And she's like, oh, you're free.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, that's such a good scene. Oh, it's so good.
It is.
Like it's in like Raboniel's mind, like she is doing her daughter a mercy, and for everything she could do with this new technology she now has, like the first thing that she wants to do is to like give that mercy to her daughter.
Yeah.
Like, that is where her priorities lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted to test it. She chose her test subject for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like someone being completely in a coma, it's like, do we take this person off life support? But this person is magically created to be immortal, so have fun with that. It's like, that seems like a good mercy to give her daughter and things. Oof.
Well, it's like, this was so good. Raboniel and her arc were the really good introduction to the idea that the fused and Odium are not really on the same page. They don't want the same things.
Yeah.
It was so like, could Odium have released any of the fused anytime he wanted? Was that a possibility? And he just chose not to?
Yeah.
Like, so maybe this isn't fused rebellion, but this is fused difference of opinion. They want
Odium can give, it can take away Tarash's eternal life. He said he could. Maybe that was an empty threat, but I don't think it was an empty threat. I see no reason why he couldn't. But so that's such a good point, because Race is just a dick, right? Like, he doesn't care.
He's on the cosmic war front. He's like, Roshar is just my toolbox that I'm trying to get in order so I can conquer the rest of the Cosmere. He does not care about either of the factions in the way that they care about Roshar.
Yeah.
It's like, I really do like that, the idea of anti-void light as a method of fused rebellion against Odium. Like, even just to give volition back, retake their own volition. Yeah.
The right to self-determination. Sorry, the right to self-termination.
That's where my mind went.
Yeah. That's so true, though. Yeah, I mean, look, we've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm very excited to see how the Fused and Terravagian interact, because that's going to be very interesting and probably not all good. But I think the Fused are just resigned. It's like, well, it's Odium. We gave ourselves to Odium. And I mean, this is just kind of where we're at here. And there's not a lot I can do about that for the most part.
I just think it's super neat if Odium didn't want anti-light discovered. Wouldn't that just be interesting?
Yeah.
And now I guess we'll find out what Taravangian thinks of the whole thing, because
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
who knows what he'll think of Anti-Light. I don't know. It's got to be important to
Yeah.
Terrifying thought.
Yeah. Ooh. I want book 5. I need it. We're not going to talk about Stormlight 5, the prologue in this one, but God, that prologue really made me want book 5 like a lot.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I love that we have this note in here about how much we want Raboniel and Herald flashbacks.
Yeah.
Because we need more Raboniel, and she's totally...
She died in the book, and she's like
one
one of the
present anymore.
She's like the best
she's
Stormlight
so
villain so
good.
far, right?
Mhm.
And it's just like, oh no, you're one book character. No, like Lesian, kill that guy. I don't care about that. We're not doing a Lesian podcast. He is not on the list. Doesn't matter. Who cares? You read the book. It's fine. Nothing to analyze there. But like Raboniel. But we can see her in Herald flashbacks and like see young Raboniel,
Please,
and like,
Brandon,
that could be so cool. That'd be really nice.
Yeah. And like, as much as I am sad to see her go in this book, I think it's a really smart move on Brennan's part, because there's a very good chance that if she stuck around, like, she would become a caricature of herself.
Yeah.
Whereas
I think
it's very clear she's awesome.
I think this is almost, for one, I love the way that Raboniel's sacrifice plays out between, again, we're going to dive deeper in that when we get
I feel like very shortly, in fact.
But I think there's so much agency in the way that she comports herself at the end of this book, and the decisions that she makes, that like, it's just such a strong ending for her character. So like, I do love that. I wish we got more time with her, but the ending is amazing. And I think we then see sort of what I suspect is going to be Elle taking up this mantle of being really scary with Void Light. And I think Elle is going to be more of the cruel, cold, totally remorseless, terrifying villain that, we almost thought Raboniel might be, but then she totally wasn't. She was like this great collaborator. But now these discoveries are going into the hands of someone who does seem very, very, very scary. And I don't know if
he'll be quite like that, but I do agree he'll be in like the prime fused villain territory, because like Leshui's not that. Raboniel's dead. Lesian's dead.
Yeah.
What other fuse do we got?
Leshui is currently a neutral party.
Yep.
But I'm hoping for listener Radiant partnership.
Yeah.
Please.
I just don't know how much we're going to get in book 5, but we're definitely getting Elle stuff, right? 100%. Yeah. But yeah, and Raboniel's ending, and like seeing how much Raboniel cared for Navani, and them singing at the end, right? Like she's not quite dead, but is not doing well, and they sing one last time. Oh, so good. The Eurythera ending is just so good in the book.
Yeah, and asking Navani to end her permanently.
Yeah.
It's like, stab me with anti-void light. If I'm reborn, like, I'll be crazy.
Yeah.
Give me an ending.
Oh, and it's like, it totally makes sense. It's all like, oh, the heartstrings. I'm pulled. Oh, it's so good.
The way that it like plays out of like Navani has inflicted a fatal blow against Raboniel, and after that point, Raboniel saves her life.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it's such an interesting dynamic these two have. It's such a powerful, like, we're not getting into like shipping stuff. If you want to ship these two, it's there. But like the canon relationship of like how much they respect each other, and
totally
yet
there.
How opposed they had to be ideologically was like, it's so well done. It's so fascinating. They carried the emotional core of this whole plot line forward spectacularly.
Let's dig right into their relationship, because I mean, We sort of talked about them as separately, but that's why it's the title of the show here. Like,
I want to talk about them together. Why are these two characters, the central arc, their notebook being the title of the book?
Yeah. And
oh my God.
Like, it is a trope that, like, there's a fine line between love and hate. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Often, like, superheroes and, like, their villains have, like, a fraught relationship.
Like, it's called foyer in TV tropes.
Oh, okay. You're welcome if you want to look that up on TV tropes. I'll see you in a week, or two for the next Shardcast. But
exactly.
And, like, it is such a powerful relationship that many people can relate to. It's like, there's a reason we like these things. And this is just such a beautiful example of it. Arguably the best example of it in Brandon's works.
Brandon's works? Yeah, I think so. Like,
I would say, yeah, I'm willing to put that
better one.
It's like we get a little bit of it with Kaladin and Leshwi at the beginning of the book, but then
that's less like they become less and less enemies with each page.
Exactly. Like Leshwi, it's a different facet where like Leshwi really isn't as bad as we thought she was.
Raboniel is the villain to the end, and that doesn't change.
They're ideologically opposed, but they genuinely like respect each other as scholars. And one of my favorite scenes is sort of near the beginning of part 3, where Raboniel's just like has her thousands-year-old assumption about like, oh yeah, Voidlight and Stormlight are opposites. Like that's just how it works. And she's like, well, I mean, oil and water kind of are, but if you use a emulsifier, then it's not. And Raboniel's just like, whoa, I've just lived for so long that I just never like combated that assumption because I've just held it for so long. And they just grow over time just to like genuinely respect each other's scholarship, even when Raboniel is pretty much just manipulating Navani to get discoveries in order. Like, you can't deny Raboniel absolutely respects Navani's scholarship, because otherwise why would she manipulate Navani to get things done? Clearly she thinks she can, right? Yeah. It's okay.
I will say, I don't think Raboniel is very manipulative, actually.
She doesn't need to do much.
And I suppose I'm using that term very specifically when I talk about like what is manipulation, but in terms of sort of what I expected their dynamic to be, and then how refreshing it was that it was very different. When I think about, well, first of all, I am, for those who are unaware, what we in the business call complete trash. So I'm already really
is this, Alyx? The AO3
I'm already
business?
very tuned into like any time that you have like opposing people being forced to collaborate or so. Like, it's why I'm very into the Ghost Bloods plot,
Shallan
especially
Rays.
with Shallan and Mraize and their whole like nonsense. Like, I love those kinds of stories because I think they're really crunchy and interesting and play on motivations and stuff. But the way Raboniel interacts with Navani is not what I would call manipulative, because she's not entirely truthful. She definitely has a lot more power in this relationship than Navani is. She does not tell Navani everything that she's working on or everything that she's trying to achieve. That's for certain. But she's also not twisting Navani in ways to make her behave in certain ways. Like, Gavilar, I would say, is manipulative. He finds Navani's weaknesses and pokes at them in ways to make Navani act the way he wants. Raboniel, I think, is much more honest about her motivations in a lot of ways. Not necessarily the results she's trying to achieve. She keeps Navani in the dark about those. But she tends to give very frank assessments of like, this is your situation, Navani. Here are your options. You can cooperate or you can choose not to. If you cooperate, I think there are opportunities for both of us, and you could potentially be able to outplay me, and we can go down that road. That's the road I would prefer to go to. It's so refreshing. And I keep using that word, but it's like she doesn't need to manipulate Navani because she knows, she sort of senses that like scholarly mindset of they both have so much to learn from each other. And Raboniel knows that Navani is interested in that genuinely, in the same way that Raboniel is interested in genuinely learning from Navani. And yeah, they are ideologically opposed, so they both want to be the one who gets more out of the collaboration than the other, which is tough to do when one of you is the captor and one of them is the prisoner. But Navani plays that game really smartly. It's
so good.
Yeah, I just they're so cool. I love this plot line. It's
so good.
You basically took like everything that I've like had in the back of my head for like the last 20 minutes and like
Ninja. Sorry.
I do disagree a little bit. Like I do find Raboniel to be manipulative, but I actually think that she's meant to be I don't know if foil is actually the right term in this circumstance, but like a reflection of Gavilar in Navani's life. And like their manipulation and like otherwise treatment of Navani are in two very different ways, and it shapes her character in very different directions. And like, I guess to me, I think Raboniel like fully noticed and could acknowledge that Navani is like the scholarly type who will keep going and keep trying to make discoveries if she is put in a positive environment to do so. And I think Raboniel capitalized on that, which to me I would still call manipulation. It's not the same as what Gavilar was doing, but it's kind of like the difference between an outright lie and a lie by omission. I still think they're both lying. They're just different types. But I think like because of the way that Raboniel does like treat Navani with respect by doing so, and like acknowledge that she is good at what she does, that she is a scholar, and does kind of boost her up, like that just completely helps Navani work through and undo a lot of what Gavilar set up in her with her insecurities. And like, it just occurred to me thinking about it before, like how much these two characters are the opposite in how they have treated Navani and the opposite in how they have affected Navani. And I think that that was quite on purpose.
Both of you are very smart people. Like I have points to make for both of you. One is Jessie. I don't think foil is the term you're looking for that, but I do think Raboniel is a foil for Navani in that she is basically evil Navani. Like but going back to like the manipulation point, I want to bring us back to the Emperor's Soul.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Where the final conversation between Shai and Gautona, and Shai is like, "Oh, I manipulated you to kind of like set me free, basically," and like, I did it by being genuine. And he says, "You can't manipulate someone by being genuine." And she obviously disagrees. So I think that was exactly what Raboniel was doing. Like, I do think she was manipulating Navani by being genuine, which gets into the question, like, is that manipulation? Is that not? It's a personal
well, it's sort of like, do you agree with Shai or Gautona? I'm more on the Gautona side. I think if it's genuine, like if you're actually like talking from your heart the whole time and it's like you're being honest and open with that person, I don't think that's manipulative. I think it's like, unless you count, like you can count every time a human talks to another person and is like, I want a behavior out of you, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah, manipulation has a very negative connotation, but like generally people want to try and get something out of another person, and that is not inherently bad, right? Like, I generally want Jess to like me because she's my wife, and I do things to make her happy. Is that like a manipulation? I mean,
this comes up in Mistborn as well, because Breeze brings up this exact point of like people do things to like, and like dress in certain ways and talk in certain ways to like get things from other people. So like, how is soothing any different to that? So it is something that Brandon has touched on in several works.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it is a spectrum. Like, there is no clear-cut line on, okay, it's like, where does it start being manipulative and stop being just trying to get something from somebody? Because, like, I do think motivation is a factor. I think Raboniel is making the choice to be genuine in order to manipulate her. She's not just being genuine to be genuine. It's like, she has a reason. Like, if she thought lying would get her what she wanted, she would lie. It's just like, oh no, like telling the truth in this situation will get me what I want, so that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. She's putting on this genuine face to sort of get Navani's guard down in a sense, right? And like how much that is a face of Raboniel versus genuine, like a bit of both. Mostly genuine, but like there's definitely lies of omission as well, right? Like they're not on the same side, so there's an aspect of manipulation.
I would also probably just say like the setting as well, like the fact that Navani is a captive to Raboniel, and like it's not just her life that hangs in the balance, it's everyone's there because she is also the queen. Like I think that also makes a difference, at least to me. But like that's part of how I see it.
How genuine can Raboniel be when it's like, everyone you love is in my hands and I control whether they live or die. Have fun. Yeah.
It's this fascinating sort of dynamic where we could almost say like Raboniel manipulated / fostered Navani into like becoming her best self and giving her this optimal work environment where she feels, seen and appreciated so that she can make these incredible discoveries. But also the whole time she knows that anything she's making has a very high risk of immediately going into the hands of her enemies and being used against the people she cares about. And it's so, you don't see plots like this very many places. You like trying to think of, are there characters in another work who have a similar dynamic to Raboniel and Navani? Like, they're so unique. It's such a fascinating situation. They're fun
if you
to
have
read
suggestions in the comments, let us know. This is good.
For me, it's sort of like what makes it manipulation versus not manipulation, I think is like, this is getting like personal definitions and sort of like what's the threshold for each individual, whatever. But like for me, it's like it's the fact that Raboniel did actually care about Navani, and it was like the fact that their relationship was genuine. To me, manipulation has like a sense of fake, and the fact that however much you think Raboniel lied to Navani, which I don't think it was that much, personally, it was the fact that Raboniel did decide to save Navani's life even after Navani did what she did and blew her up. And to me, like that's kind of one of the deciding factors is sort of like genuineness versus falseness.
Yeah. It is just so good though, because like Raboniel gives Navani information, but Navani gives Raboniel information too, and just like sees, humans can actually do this thing that singers can do, and like that is insane. So I've never seen that, right?
Raboniel's not surprised by that at all. That's why she wants to talk to Navani, because she knows there's things the humans have figured out that they haven't. And she wants those secrets, like even from their first interaction.
Sorry, I thought you were meaning that she wasn't surprised that the humans could sing. And I was like, I think she was surprised about that. But you're just saying in general that humans have things to give.
Humans have the discoveries that the singers
Yeah, that's her whole point, right? That the fused have sort of like gotten lazy in a sense.
Yeah, they've stagnated.
Yeah.
And there's the great scene, humans are not of Roshar. And Navani is, no, like I was born here. Like my people have been here for thousands of years. Like I am of Roshar, which is just also a really great scene of Navani standing up for herself and not being afraid to. I actually want to circle back to something Alyx was saying about characters like this being so uncommon, which is like, I really do kind of want to emphasize that, because they're both lady scientists, like one good, one evil mad scientist, but there aren't a whole lot of characters. Thinking back, like the one that popped it first into my brain was Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. Like that was the first evil female mad scientist that came to mind. And it's just like
GLaDOS from Portal. Sort of.
Yeah.
They tend to not be human or caricatures, or it's like usually assistants to male mad scientists. Like
Yeah.
That's certainly true.
Also, to jump back to something that Alyx said, because she says so many great things. What she was saying about how Raboniel was like adamant from the start of the books, like, no, humans like have learned stuff that is helpful for us, and we should be looking at that and looking to learn from them. Looks kind of back on Oathbringer and like a lot of the judgments and prejudices that come up amongst the humans about the singers, and how they kind of look down on at least the base singers because they were Parshmen up till that point, and they don't see them as people who could have like things that are as advanced sometimes. And it just reminds me of some of the conversations where it's just kind of, they're talked about as a monolithic group that aren't worthy of looking into further. And it's instead, well, we'll just sit with our inventions and what we can do and not think about like what the other side could also give us. So it's just interesting to then get that cross opinion from the other side. And it's like, no, they're thinking about what we can give them. Why aren't we doing the same?
So good. This is this just is getting to the whole human singer conflict, right? Which I totally don't think is going to be resolved in book 5 at all. It's too big. I don't even know if it can be resolved in Stormlight itself, really, totally satisfactorily. But like, yeah, it's that whole, hey, we got to value the other, right? In the context of this big war, which is actively making people not be able to do that, really, in a sense, right? Because there's gods like pushing people to not do that. Oof. I think a trope that I just really love is a villain being very honest. It's like, hey, I mean, you can, like, exactly like you said, Alyx, like, I mean, you can oppose me. It's just a terrible idea. And let me tell you why it's a terrible idea. And I'll just let you know. Yeah. There you go. Here are your options. Like, clearly one's a better one. So why don't we work together? Like, I just love that villainous honesty. Oh, I dig it. It's so good.
I love when villains don't have to lie.
Yeah. Like, I don't need to lie to get you to do what I want, basically, right?
On the same hand, like, I understand why Navani doesn't necessarily trust that Raboniel is always telling her the truth.
Oh, yeah.
Like obviously she's got it. She has to second guess everything Raboniel is telling her. Yeah. But for me, like, when in my memory of like reading these scenes, I never had much trouble believing that Raboniel was just being pretty much, maybe not 100%, but pretty much always straightforward with her. Like, obviously there's lies of omission. Like, I'm not going to tell you that I'm spying on your conversations with the sibling and all that. But like, for the most part, it seems like she's in a situation where she doesn't have to lie that much to Navani in order to get what she wants. So it's like almost like a freedom that Raboniel feels in this relationship. And I kind of think that's like the cracks of like why she felt like she could bond with this woman of, you and I are the same, and like kind of building on that. So that's kind of where I was at while reading.
Certainly when she's doing the science, I don't think Raboniel lies. Like, she says truthful things about like the science and the way the world works, right? And they're trying to discover it together, right?
Yeah.
That is a really interesting point that you just made, Gray, that I hadn't sort of put together before. And I don't know if that's the point you were meaning to make, but this idea of like, I think you guys are right that if Raboniel had thought lying was the way to get what she wanted, she would have lied. But the fact that she could be honest and that was actually the better way to go. Because I think if she had lied, Navani just would have dug her heels in and seen through it and not cooperated. Navani's too smart to be messed around with like that. But I think you kind of touched on this idea that like the fact that she was able to be honest with Navani and that was the strategically correct choice almost like lowered Raboniel's guard a little more than maybe she was expecting.
That was my point. That was my point.
Yeah. Cool vibe.
Yeah. And it's like in our interview with Brandon after Rhythm of War, like I did ask the question of how genuine Raboniel was.
Yes, he did.
The only part he would confirm is that she was totally genuine about her daughter's death and her reaction to that. But the other
and the war.
And the war. But the other main one is there's a scene where they're investigating the shield around the sibling's heart. And one of the war forms is swinging Alikar's blade. And I just want to quickly read a couple of lines. We could unravel its secrets if we tried together, Raboniel said, instead of wasting our time watching one another for hidden motives.
Hilarious.
This is true, Ancient One, Navani said. But if you want my cooperation and goodwill, perhaps you shouldn't flaunt in front of me the blade taken from the corpse of my son. Raboniel stiffened. She glanced at the war form with the weapon. I did not know. Didn't she? Or was this another game?
Ooh. Like, even just reading these lines, their dynamic is so good. I love it. It's so good.
And that reads to me that Raboniel didn't know. Because I feel like if she did, she would have used that more effectively. She was caught off guard there.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree.
I definitely read this as like she was caught off guard and she screwed up by doing it this way. And like that was the reaction from her. That is what I got is like, oh no, I shouldn't have done it this way. I should have known this beforehand. And I think this is also one of the scenes that helps her find the best course of which way to go with Navani. And it's like, oh, if this hadn't have happened, if it had been like, if I had known it, I wouldn't have done this because she seems so much more open to things being honest. And I think like this is a good scene to help set that tone.
I do agree. It does seem like, you know, this is a scene of Raboniel. This is my take, that this is a scene of Raboniel trying to do her thing of like, I'm just being honest with you and this is our goal and we're going to succeed. And, you know, doing her whole like, I'm showing you the stakes of what's going on here. So you should just help me. There is a totally like paranoid reading of this where it's sort of like, oh, I'm going to accidentally show her this, like pretend I'm going to pretend that I didn't know that this was your son's blade. So that means you can get mad at me. So that means we can have like you can feel like you get one up on me. I'll pretend to be ashamed. And that means we can sort of like, you'll trust me a little bit more because I admitted that I screwed up. You could read it that way. Like that would be like super Batman master manipulator.
Yeah.
But like
chess master.
But why would Raboniel know this information? Like she is relatively recent being reborn anyway, and like she's probably worried about a lot higher level issues than like I'm keeping track of all the blades that we took from humans, and it's just more like, oh yeah, we need some shard bearers because we're going on a major offensive here. Like, obviously you're going to take
like,
some.
Can't think of how. So it's it does feel like it was against the point she was trying to make to Navani in this scene.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Eric. I think it is plausible in character because like she is like the hyper competent one. Like she knows things. It's plausible like she would have known or she could have known.
Sure.
But obviously I don't think she did.
It's not out of character for her to not know as well in this specific instance.
Yeah.
Like she is the one who knows how to control every aspect of her environment and every aspect of what she is trying to do at any given time. And this is introducing a complete unknown that she didn't even know was an unknown. And
Right.
like she seems to realize that in the moment. It's like, oh, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I was trying to achieve.
This also underscores another similarity between the two that we've kind of touched on, in that they are both mothers
Yes.
of adult
Yes.
children
Yes.
that are no longer alive or no longer
They have grief.
self-aware. Really,
They have grief over their children.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Definitely.
which, like, I think Raboniel would have academically known at this point, but seeing it and seeing a kindred soul in Navani, this is just another parallel between the two.
Yeah, and it's kind of also seeing the proof of like the spren, like earlier in that scene you read, Ian, Navani is trying so hard to be impassive, but like a little agony spren pops up and Raboniel notices, but it clearly isn't quite able to see why or sense why Navani is feeling that way. And then it all comes together, and that becomes a thing of like, she knows Navani is actually feeling real pain over her son, because it's like the spren can't lie.
I
Like,
know.
they're so active around humans is the thing. So it's this is Raboniel doesn't even have to believe Navani's words. She can see.
Yeah.
In the corner,
Yeah.
there's a little agony spren when she saw this.
I have a great future Stormlight prediction that is not true, but it would be a great parallel to what happened in Rhythm of War. That if eventually Navani uses anti-Stormlight somehow against Yes, parallels with Raboniel and her daughter.
No.
I don't think that's true, but I do want what has happened with Navani and Raboniel to matter going forward, because I'm still, even though their ending was good, I'm still sad she's dead.
There's a quote in this little section that I actually kind of want to dig into a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
And it's what Raboniel says about, we could unravel the secrets if we tried together instead of wasting our time watching one another for hidden motives.
So good.
I don't think Raboniel actually wants this.
No,
I think strategically, she believes it would be easier if Navani was just like totally trusting and duped and was working completely cooperatively. But I think she would have respected Navani so much less if Navani ever let her guard down like that. And I don't think Navani ever really does. Like, they do become close in a way, and they do really respect each other as they collaborate. But never does Navani lose sight of the fact that they're on opposing sides. And I think that's partially why Raboniel respects her so much. Of like, it's almost interesting that she throws this out like, you should just trust me, when actually she doesn't really want that, because it would mean Navani would be stupid if she did.
Yeah,
and she doesn't.
like
It doesn't work.
It more helps their relationship and their dynamic that, like, oh no, I can genuinely respect Navani. But I think what Raboniel's going for in this is just the strategy, the high level strategic aspect. That's like, I mean, it would make my life a lot easier if you just did these things, right? But then their relationship wouldn't have been as good, and maybe Raboniel wouldn't have saved Navani's life, right? Because maybe.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to bring up, I 100% agree with Alyx in that, yes, it would make her life easier if Navani just rolled over and gave up all of her secrets. But that's not what Raboniel really wants out of the relationship. Because I think it's important to remember the way the Fuse reacted to her appearance during the Council of the Nine. It's like, it was Raboniel's appearance.
Oh, yeah.
Because like, she was, at some point in the past, like, she was put to sleep, and it's like, we're not going to wake her up. Like, she's too crazy. Like,
yeah,
she's just causing problems. And so Leshmi was surprised when it's like, when she showed up. I don't think Raboniel has any true allies among the Fused. I don't think anybody
Good point.
truly trusts her. And I think the closest relationship Raboniel had was Navani. Like, even though she was an enemy, it's like she still got closer to Raboniel than anyone else has in thousands of years.
I mean, does any of the fused trust the other fused on like a true emotional level, or is it just, yeah, I mean, we're on the same side, whatever? Like, we'll be back.
I
There are
definitely
groups.
believe, like, among the Shanaeum,
Yeah, I
I
guess
think
that's
they
true.
trust each
The
other.
heavenly ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But, and like, I definitely
Within the
think there are
brains.
those relationships. I don't think Raboniel has them. Like, she's done too much.
Hmm.
She's burned those bridges.
It's
Mhm.
fascinating that people thought that she was crazy, and then we're just like, I mean, she seems really reasonable for the most part. She's just
Mhm.
like super ambitious and knows
She
what
just
she
has
wants.
she has her line in a different place than other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like, I really want to know, why was she woken up for this desolation? Did Odium foresee something?
Yeah, it's hard to say how exactly what fused coming back when, how that all works. Like, I don't
Mhm.
think we really know at all.
It
Really?
seems like Elle has been back the whole time. It's not as if they pulled out every single fused.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are multiple lines about, like, it
Yeah.
takes time for everybody to wake up, but she was specifically pointed out as somebody that, like, was not going to be woken up ever again.
Yeah, so I just wonder how much agency, like, she has necessarily, like, how much agency they have on Braze. I don't know. That's a lot of mechanic stuff about Fuse that's not really in this episode, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
maybe in the episode that's already come out about Heralds and Fuse, but I don't know.
I know we didn't really dig into it much during the Raboniel section, but I know there was a point in our notes about her new title, the Lady of Wishes.
Yeah, why
And
is she called the Lady of Wishes?
Because she
I
doesn't
wonder
want to be
if
called
this
the
is-
Lady of Pains.
Yeah.
No, but
I
like,
think this
why
is a
that
part of it
title?
is like
What does that mean?
I wouldn't. It's hard to. I mean, it's not in the books. The book doesn't dig into why she changed her title, but I do wonder if she's trying to sort of like appeal to the new singers who maybe don't know all of her backstory of, like, she's been given a chance to come back and maybe does want to like rebrand a little bit. But I wonder almost if it's her wish for the end of the war.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I was thinking
Rather
about it
than-
being her wishes. Yeah.
Yeah.
we've sort of seen she doesn't have this cruelty where she enjoys the suffering, and so I think maybe she's realized she doesn't want to be, yes, she's willing to do drastic things, but it's in pursuit of what she sees as a worthy end. It's not just for like the pain and the suffering in and of itself.
Like, she doesn't want to be known as the person who is causing pain just for the sake of it, because that's not what she does. This is very much because I read Warbreaker recently, but it just reminds me of Blushweaver changing her title as well from something that was given to her that she didn't like to something that she chose for herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually wanted to disagree with something Alyx said, where it's like doing
Illegal. They're not allowed.
it. Because I got the impression the name change was a long time ago. It's not a recent thing.
I also got that impression.
Oh.
I got that
Really?
impression.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I was wrong. I figured it was post.
I mean, I think the reasoning still,
fade.
Yeah.
I think the reasoning still holds. It's
It's
just not
this
a.
desolation. It's an older desolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
She's been wanting the end of the war for a long time.
yeah. And like, I agree that the name change ultimately has more to do with not wanting to be Lady of Pains rather than necessarily liking Lady of Wishes. Though I do really like the idea of, like, she is making her dreams into reality. Like, she has a wish, she makes it real.
Yeah. It definitely digs
Sort of
into that
thing.
ambition aspect and thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know what? Rebranding on Roshar is really hard. Just ask the Dustbringers. Really tough to rebrand. It's like they need
Also,
a
I
good
feel like
logo,
Fused are pretty- pretty stuck in the brand that they get.
PR campaign.
Change brand. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
It's also just interesting because, like, we were talking earlier about how she doesn't really seem like she's the type of person to have to project, like, who she is or what she does for, like, people to fear her and respect her. But it takes work and effort to change a branding of yourself. And, like, that just kind of seems a bit in juxtaposition to her not needing to do what Lesian does and, like, posture and, like, make people scared of him and make people think of him a certain way. People just think of her a certain way. So it's just interesting that she must have put in that effort at some point to make this change.
You will not refer
Or
to me
everybody
as
was
this.
just or everybody was just so scared of her. It's like, you want to name your change? Okay, we
sounds
will
good.
call you
No
the thing.
worries.
You go like, don't kill
Yes,
us,
ma'am.
please.
Yeah, we're good. Sure, whatever you want. Your wish is
It
my
does
command.
kind of sound like that a little bit because, like, I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like,
We used to call
her Lady of
Pains.
Pains until she decided she didn't like that title. And, like, that kind of sounds like, oh, okay, we'll just change it now. But yeah, no, it only just takes more, like, work and effort and kind of campaigning in a way to change how people think of you and, like, what they brand you as.
Leshwi first introduces her as, like, she used to be the Lady of Pains. Like, it's still around.
Wasn't she also a member of the Nine at
she
one
was.
point?
Yeah, she totally was. Yeah.
Like, so she was hugely influential.
Yeah.
Like,
and I can't imagine that's good for your sanity, being in the stone. Yikes. Yep, but she sure was. And then she decided that she didn't like that either, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
I love Raboniel. She's just like, that seemed like
I've
a
been
good
the
idea
leader
at the
of our
time.
people for a while. Let's do something else.
Let's do something else. Yeah.
I feel like maybe where I got this impression that the Lady of Wishes was a new thing for this return was the fact that, we know the pandemic genophage bioweapon plan was the most recent desolation before this. And I always, for some reason, I tied those two together, that, like, that was where she went too far and realized, like, maybe I should rebrand. But there's also, we don't have the quote in our notes, but I know, I think it's very early on in Rhythm of War, Leshwi talks about, or maybe Vinley just has it in narration, about how a lot of the fused are really frustrated by this return because they have these, like, long mythological histories and they're these famous figures of legends, and none of the singers know that anymore. Like, it's been too long. All of their mythology is
listeners
gone.
don't either.
Yeah. And, like, Lesian is clearly very frustrated by this, and that's kind of why he's, like, pushing his pursuer thing so hard. But I wonder if Raboniel found that sort of refreshing, is like, hey, it's a little bit of a clean slate for everybody. The other fused know what you were up to, but the normal singers, like, they're just going to use whatever title you gave for them, and they probably aren't going to, most of them, find out the history unless somebody directly tells them, like Leshwi tells Vinley. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fascinating, though, that Raboniel made this disease during the last return? Like, that's
that's the most recent one, right? Before
like
this?
from the prelude 4,500 years ago.
I mean, that's the obvious reading of what that was. I would need to look at.
Didn't it only last like 10 years after the one before that too?
It was like the same year.
Something?
It was the same year.
Yeah, it was less than
the last
year.
desolation.
Oh, wow.
It was like the very last desolations. The heralds broke like immediately. Yeah, we know that for certain that the last desolation was within the year of the previous desolation.
Yeah, that is an interesting timeline.
After the last return and her madness, she was to remain asleep. Why? What does that mean? I like how there's also a line in chapter 14 of Rhythm of War where Venli says, "What does it mean, lady?" It's like immediately as I say this. It was really
Finley would be great at Who's That Cosmere character. What does it mean to be
So she apparently rebranded prior to the thing that Leshwi is like saying was the really bad thing, which is fascinating.
See,
I think
this is
it's-
why I think I got that impression. Because I thought it was.
I still don't get that impression.
I don't think Leshwi was like, this was the singular bad thing she ever done.
was
This
just
is
the
just
most
the most recent
I
one,
guess
so
that's
it's
true.
the one freshest in my mind.
I guess that is
the one
I think it's
I'm
the
saying.
probably the worst one according to the other fused as well. But I don't think the other fused being like, whoa, what the heck, Raboniel, has any link to Raboniel being tired and like, I don't like this name anymore.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I know I definitely was thinking about like in the Wheel of Time, one of the Forsaken is like a medical torturer who just does that to whoever she. And I was like, that's what I figured when I hear Lady of Pains. That's the
right.
sort of vibe I get.
Right.
I think this is maybe one of like our final topics that we do, but I do want to really
Cosmere.
talk about the final interaction that they have, which is when Navani makes her escape attempt and Raboniel saves her after, which I touched on this a little bit before, but after Navani has sort of given her a fatal blow. And yeah, I think it's just, it's very emblematic of the sort of respect that these two have cultivated for each other.
Cultivated.
And I think, I think Navani, we see here, she never lost her distrust of Raboniel. She knew that it was the strategically correct choice of, if she had that shot, she had to take it for her people and for the sake of the tower. And especially after she found out what Raboniel was planning to do with the anti-void light. Like, I don't think there was any hesitation that Navani felt in setting up that trap and knowing it had to be done, even if she did respect Raboniel. And it was correct. And I think Raboniel understood that as well, which is why when Weiry comes through looking to kill Navani, Raboniel stops him, even though she's like very deeply wounded. She's like, I think she like tackles him. She grabs onto him so that he can't go after.
She climbs up his body.
Yeah, because her legs are non-functional, I think, at that stage.
Yeah, she's like,
terrifying image.
Oh
Good
man.
stuff.
The fact that she would like expend such effort to save the person who has just killed her is just incredible. It shows how much she sees Navani as the potential, the best way towards an end to the war, and therefore someone worth saving, even though Navani has just done this terrible thing. Which honestly, Raboniel may not see as so terrible because, she thought the death for her daughter was merciful. She probably understands the risk arithmetic Navani made to, set that trap and pull that trigger. And there aren't hard feelings for it, which is shocking because it's such a deep, terrible thing to attack someone you've been working with and to kill them. Even
is in a different place.
Yeah, she doesn't lose any respect for Navani even after Navani has attacked her and mortally wounded her. Like, I love the way that they've gone through the book, and I think this is just sort of the perfect ending.
Respected
scene.
enemies,
it's so good.
You got me.
I just keep saying that, but it's so good.
Alyx basically said the same thing I was thinking again, almost like word for word how I was thinking it as well. I think
Alex, you're too good.
Definitely the relationship that they have cultivated led to the point where Raboniel knew that Navani, out of anybody else, is the most likely person to use what they have discovered to end the war and not continue it. And she knows that so well because of how they have worked together and the bond that they did develop. And I very much think that also was part of it, because Like, if Weiry had killed Navani, then the war's just going to continue. This is now just another weapon in the arsenal that they can use.
I think there's a measure of respect on Raboniel's part towards Navani. I think she's also kind of the person that would view it as a compliment. Like, you respect me to view me as a big enough threat to blow me up.
And you did it. Good job. Like, that's 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
you did it.
Yeah.
You are the person I think you are. It is an aspect of ruthlessness that does, again, underscore the similarities between them so beautifully. It
definitely feels like one of those things. It's like, oh wow, that's your passions are very high, and I really respect that ruthlessness. It's like, good work. 10 out of 10. Didn't think humans would do that. So good, nice on you.
Good job.
Yeah.
It's also valuable for a relationship like this when they've spent the entire book being like, or at least from Navani's point of view, I don't know, can I trust her? What is she telling the truth about? What is she being genuine about? What is she lying about? A scene like this, when she's about to die and there's no reason left for lies or subterfuge, it's so valuable for Navani's and the reader's certainty that of what Raboniel did mean. There's no way to see a malicious end in saving Navani's life after she's about to die. It's and that's kind of like why I think it's so affecting. You know, like we know that the respect was real, like in that it was whatever Raboniel said she felt, she meant, and we know that at the point of dying and saving Navani's life, like that's. It's certainty and it's truth.
Yeah. Like you can't argue that moment wasn't genuine, right? And so that definitely colors the rest of the relationship as well. In that way, that it's like, oh no, Raboniel did, despite some manipulations, depending on what you want to call, but certainly lies of omission at least. Raboniel respected the hell out of Navani and was like, yeah, no, I'll save your life. Yep.
I almost get the sense that Raboniel felt like one of them needed to live. And that, it could have been either one. Obviously, I think Raboniel wished it had been her. She wanted her side to be the one to come out on top, but there needed to be an end. And I think she had this sense of like, if I'm not going to make it, then Navani needs to, because we are the two who are going to be able to use this most effectively. Like, obviously we see that L is doing his own experiments with anti-void light now, and that secret has made it back to the rest of the fused. But I do think Raboniel would have been the most dangerous person to implement that into the war strategy. I think by killing her, Navani did set sort of the fused strategic side back, because Raboniel was the one in the room when the discoveries happened and knew how it worked and knew how to put it together. There's going to be some catch up on the fused side, whereas Navani gets to keep her expertise and all that they worked on together. So,
yeah, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, that makes me think about like, ooh, what's Navani going to do in book 5, right? Because like obviously there's going to be stuff with Navani and the sibling, of course, right? But like, is her job gonna be like trying to get a bunch of anti-void lights? And it's like, all right, let's go. We have the weapon. We got to use this, or else
make sure everyone has a knife on them.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like, how much? I mean, how much can you get in 10 days? Yeah, I mean, I suppose that is a solution to like, oh, Dalinar and Odium's agreement. It's like, well, I can't really deal with the fuse. It's like, all right, well, let's get some anti-void light. Let's finish that. We'll solve that problem. But it's kind of challenging, other than the sibling, to sort of see where Navani's character goes, because we've had such a big character climax. Like, that was just the core conflict from her. So like, I feel like I'm not going to be too upset not seeing as many points of view from her, just because like her big arc, we got the big arc.
There's going to be so much to happen in Stormlight 5. Like, I can't see her taking as big of a role for sure.
Yeah. Fingers crossed she's the interlude through line.
That could be fun. I know there's almost, in terms of, I think you're right that we're probably not going to get this level of spotlight on Navani again, which is a little sad. But I also see it's similar to the way that I viewed like what's happened with Renarin's character, where initially where you have a character who's sort of a little bit more of a side character, a little bit in the background, you're going to have a few people that really resonate with them and sort of pick up on what's happening with them. But after you've had more of the spotlight there, you then are able to, more people are going to be able to catch the smaller moments going forward. You're going to carry forward this appreciation of like, oh, I've been deep inside this character's head and now I get what these small moments are meaning, and you can sort of extrapolate more of that.
From like other people's point of view, and you still see the character. Yeah.
But yeah. There was a lot of, I know, like Oathbringer, I was like, oh, I used to have to like lay out theses of what Renarin's character was. And now in Oathbringer, he just said a bunch of it and more people know now. It's great. Yeah. It's wonderful. But I think that's what this book is going to do with Navani as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the next book, like some things that I would really like to see from Navani is more like some sort of decompression with Dalinar, both about like what happened in the tower, but also like they need to have a talk about Gavilar. And like it would be good to see Dalinar being the one being supportive in their relationship for once, because it is normally the other way around. And now that we've had Navani like in the spotlight, like she has been through this entire occupation. It would be really nice just to have like one small scene where like she just sits down with Dalinar and he's just there to support her. And like that would be nice to see. Like it's not something that needs to be like go on throughout the book or anything. Like it really could just be like a single scene.
Add that in with like, hey, let's talk about bondsmithing some. Fit that in there too. Like we gotta have a scene about that, right? Like just let's talk about these things in the past. Also magical powers. It's like that can just be a chapter, right? Seems good.
I wonder how much Navani will tell other people about Raboniel. I wonder how much she will feel she's almost able to share about what really happened between the two of them. And because I mean, clear, she's got the book that they wrote together during captivity of them discovering. How is she going to talk about how that came about?
Yeah, she does leave a note on Raboniel's body that like this is the body of a hero.
Oh, really? I kind of forgot.
Or like something along those lines.
Yeah, she does.
Like, respect this body is like.
So it's not going to be a secret. She's going to be like, this is my respected arrival.
Something happened.
Yeah, because that's just so complicated, because I could totally see someone being like, you guys sort of weaponized anti-Stormlight, and that's kind of not great. Like, I can totally imagine someone in world thinking that is not great, like a Bridge 4 person thinking that that's not great, potentially, right?
Well, her retort is, but we also have anti-void light. So.
Yeah.
One thing we really didn't get into, and so it's not going to be a big whole thing, but like they not only discovered anti-light, they discovered hybrid lights. They discovered the rhythm of war,
which is probably going to be important. Maybe.
Yeah, that's huge
somehow.
But that was the thing that earned Navani the title Voice of Light.
Yeah,
not the discovery of anti-light.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
because that was the thing. Raboniel wanted Navani to figure out anti-light. She was not expecting hybrid light.
Yeah. I just realized that I need to be on the sibling podcast because I just got a bunch of thoughts about the fact that the person Navani might end up decompressing about Raboniel with might be the sibling, because the sibling was there for all of that.
Yeah.
And the sibling had a very different relationship with Raboniel during this experience.
It's a little slightly different relationships. I'm being actively unmade by this person, you know?
And
Yeah,
I
it's,
had maybe not put together that Raboniel might be a sticking point in the sibling and Navani's
Raboniel
relationship.
is like the horror creature in the siblings story. It's like you're
Yeah.
stalking me and trying to kill me. You're the thing that follows.
Well, if that episode already came out, then great. Well, and if not, see it in bit for it.
There will be one.
There
We'll
will be
make it
one.
happen
There will
at
be
some
one.
point.
We were maybe
We'll
going to
have
record
had.
that one, but scheduling didn't work out, so we did this one instead.
I just like something just clicked in my head of like, ooh, crunchy motivations. This is going to be delightful.
Yeah. Cool. Any other closing thoughts while we're here?
I just used the one I was going to use for closing thoughts, which
Okay,
was
cool.
Voice of Lights.
Yeah.
The voice of lights. It was so hard not to just be like, and that was so gay of them. At so many points throughout this, I was like,
look,
the first time
it
you were
is,
like,
though.
and when Navani stabbed her and like she asked her to end her life, and then we didn't even really talk about them holding hands and singing. It was
it's not just the singing; it's the holding hands and singing. It's good.
I really wanted to get to everything we talked about, but I just want to register like their
It's very
relationship was so okay. It was so fraught. It was so intense. There was like, oh my god,
It was like deeply meaningful too. That it's like,
it was deeply meaningful.
all shippers for Navani and
scary.
Raboniel. It totally get it.
So valid.
There's very little you have to do to like any of these scenes to make them more gay.
Explicitly romantic.
This can just be like a tragic love story as it is written.
Add a hand kiss maybe, and that would be like
Done.
A side glance.
Yeah.
Brush of the hands. Just like small things. Like
Yeah.
You know, I feel
Just
like
continuing Brandon's streak of accidentally
super gay.
accidental homoeroticism.
super gay.
Yeah.
I feel like we were very responsible podcasters and just stuck to the canon line as during our discussions, but we did need to we got to get
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I had to make sure we say it.
Look. It's super gay. Like,
we
come
were
on.
so responsible,
Come on.
but we were so responsible, but I just have to say it before we end.
Well, and it's just such a good,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's such a good female relationship. That's like,
Yeah.
doesn't mean they can't be friends, but they could be more. Like, it's just easy. So.
It was fraught.
I think it's some of the strongest character and relationship plotting that Brandon has done.
Yeah, I agree.
He has a lot of great character arcs, but this one was just both of their characters were so solid on their own. Their motivations were very clear and very intriguing. And then the way that he wove them together to create a fascinating rivalry, collaborative, respect relationship and pulled that all the way through to the end. I think it's some of the best writing.
That one
he
of
has
them
done.
kills the other, but it just like totally
Well,
works.
there's so many gay tragedies that are like written by gay people that also involve killing each other, and it's like fraught and emotional and hard and difficult. It's like you can make this in like it's that's not disqualifying. Let me just say, yeah.
Oh, it is so good though. Cool. Well, this was fun. How about we head on to Who's That Cosmere Character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace, Tien,
Tom,
Raise.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Welcome to Who's That Cosmere Character, the game show where you send 5 clues and a character to wtcc at 17shard.com. After each clue, these guys have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. This first one is sent from Lexa Smith. And clue 1, this character is a POV character.
Menace.
It's not Menace. What did you guess,
Renarin.
Alex? Oh, no, it's not Renarin. Sorry,
Is
I should have
it
assumed it was
Lightsong?
Renarin. Not Lightsong.
I don't know, Vasher.
It's not Basher. Clue 2, this character has been drawn by Shallan.
Ooh, that
Ooh.
narrows
Is
it
it-
down.
That's a useful clue.
That is a really
Adeline.
useful clue.
It's not Adeline. Adolin.
Adeline.
POV character. Those are two very useful clues together.
I know, right?
Phil.
It's not Syl.
I'm gonna guess Vale.
It's not Vale.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a great guess.
Thank you. I thought it was creative.
I'll just cross Kaladin off the list.
It's not Kaladin. Clue 3. This character has met a herald.
Yasna.
It's not Yasna. But I like that guess.
Is it Shalon?
It's not Shalon. It's been drawn by Shalon. Yeah.
She found herself.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
But no.
I feel like she has to have been drawn at some point. Vivenna?
It's not Vivenna.
Pattern?
It's not Pattern.
Oh, we don't have a pattern POV. That was a waste.
Ooh,
That's
Pattern
fine.
POV would be very
Threw
entertaining.
it away.
Please give
That'd
us
be
that.
so fun.
Mhm.
Clue 4. This character has met a shard.
Shalon drew all the heralds, right?
Yasna.
It's not
I already
Yasna.
said Yasna.
Oh.
We're now in the territory of like, I feel like there's one right answer, and now I just have to
Yeah.
figure out what it is.
No, the question is, were they a shard when they were met?
Yeah. Like anyone who's met Taravangian at this point.
Yeah.
Has met a shard.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
so.
I think that counts.
That's so twisty.
I would say
Met them as the shard.
as a shard. Yes.
As the shard.
Yes.
Okay, that
yeah,
helps.
yeah.
Okay.
Have we guessed Dalinar yet?
I don't think so.
Dalinar.
It's not Dalinar.
Okay.
So we've got like all the main colons here, right? Yeah.
You got a lot of colons out of here. Yeah.
I've got a lot of colons.
Can always guess
Anybody
Count's
who's
colon.
met, or no, the Night Watcher wouldn't count. Just those few who met cultivation would. But
Right. Correct.
Drawn by
Um,
Shalon, though.
Yeah.
wait, have
Is
we
it-
guessed
oh.
Taravangian? I'm
There you
guessing
guess.
Taravangian.
It is
I
Taravangian.
just had to
Yeah.
thought that like she drew Taravangian.
I was
Yep,
like, yeah,
yep.
right. Back in Way of Kings, she did a portrait.
Back
of
in
him.
Yep,
Way of Kings.
yep.
That was quite tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
He,
it's like,
he
well,
absolutely did meet a shard.
he
Yeah,
absolutely
he had a chat with Cultivation.
And Odium.
And Odium several times.
Odium.
Yeah. I was starting to question on whether or not that it was Shard of Adenalsium or if it was Shard as in Shard Blade.
Oh, I
But
probably would have
obviously- I
specified
would've
that.
hated
yeah,
that if they'd done that in the clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would have thrown a hissy fit.
And clue 5 is this character is presumed dead in the world. The main characters believe they're dead.
That's a pretty good giveaway
Yep.
for a nice clue 5 cap.
Yeah, I like that. There was even a bonus clue, but like, I don't know. I always like when, he can almost uniquely identify with the clues. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also kind of
These are
tricky
great
because,
clues.
Shalon drawing Taravangian, that's an easy fact to miss, right?
Yeah, it was a while back.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was also thinking of her sketchbook pages more than like
Mm.
what she drew in text.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
This next one is from Latico Lapsy. Sorry. Lu 1. One of this character's parents is dead. I love the sigh, Shannon. This is good.
Adolin.
It's not Adolin.
Renarin.
It's not Renarin.
Start out the same way. We just got to go for it.
Just cross it off
William
the list.
Ann.
It's not William Ann.
Vivenna.
It's not Vivenna. Clue 2. This character has a sword.
You sure it's
Actually,
not
Vivenna would have been a perfect guess.
I'm sure it is not Vivenna. Yeah.
Mhm.
You sure it's not Vivenna? That's funny.
That
Okay,
said, it's very amusing that you're guessing Vivenna given some of the later clues, but it is not Vivenna.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Can you
Sure.
repeat the first clue? Is it specifically only one of their parents is dead and like presumably the other's
Ooh.
alive?
Ooh.
What was the actual phrasing?
The phrasing is one of this character's parents is dead. Let me
Okay.
take a quick
they-
look. See,
It could be tricky in both of them, but I feel like
yeah.
that's kind of mean.
that might be.
I feel like the fact that Eric is having to go to the copper mine to check on this is kind of significant.
Yeah, I'm definitely striking through some people in my head because of this.
Well,
Yeah.
look,
There's
it's important to
definitely-
get things correct.
We're metagaming.
Yeah, because
Let's metagame these questions.
there's part of me that wants to get Serini, but both of her parents are alive.
How about I say that we specifically know one of their parents is dead? How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine.
The other one may or may not be.
Is it? Oh, is it Venli?
It's not Venli.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Is it Vin?
It's not Vin.
I was thinking her Colossus.
There's like 3 V names in a row.
Yeah. VVV. Viviv.
Vivina, Venli, Vin.
I think it's Vivina. I hate that Brandon pronounces it Vivina.
It's not old chaps, is it? Because he holds.
No, it is not old chaps.
Okay.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Because we do
That's
explicitly
hilarious.
know his mother is dead. We don't know about his father.
That's true. Yeah, that's what I had to check. But no, it's not old chaps.
Old
Col-
chaps.
Eland.
No, it's not Elend. Clue 3. This character was involved in an assassination.
Then would have worked. Yeah.
Oh, Zeth.
It's not Zeth.
Oh.
That's a good one, though. That would be another great reason for me to check if the other parent was alive or not.
Do we know one of his parents is dead?
Yeah, his dad's dead.
As a Rhythm of War now.
Yeah,
Oh,
Ishara
that's
killed him.
yeah, as a Rhythm of
Yeah.
War.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What's his name?
That
Ishar.
little
Ishar?
breakdown.
Ishar,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ishar was like, I killed your dad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Rip
that's true.
Naturo.
That did happen.
Yep.
His dad has a sword was involved in an assassination.
Is it Elhokar?
It is not El Hakar. No.
Ooh.
He was involved. That's true. That's
Several.
True. Yes.
Some
Usually about himself.
Self-staged.
Well, that's true. That's true too. Self-staged attempts and assassination attempts. The amount of assassinations that El Hakar was involved in is extremely high, and it all involves him.
Yep.
Hilarious.
And Gavilar sure do be dead.
Is it Eshonai?
It's not Eshonai.
Just cross. I just realized I didn't get the sister.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, she was involved in assassination. She got it. She got it going.
Gave the order? Yeah,
That's true.
that counts.
What does it mean to be involved in an assassination?
There's so many different ways you could be involved in an assassination.
Would that count as an assassination?
Give it a go.
Give it a go.
I also have other
Take it
names in
first,
mind
man.
from other non-Roshar.
Redden is the heterochromat, right?
Yes.
The King's Bastard. That's who I'm guessing.
Oh, no, it is not Redden.
Okay.
Oh, I have a good new guess. Okay.
Okay.
I really
clue
hope this clue doesn't nix it
Yeah.
because I really like this one.
Clue 4. This character's eye color changes when using investiture.
Eye color changes when using investiture.
Yes, correct.
So any radiant.
Think it works anymore? No.
Well, it can't be a light eye.
Well, what was your guess,
It has
though, Alex? I won't say yes or no.
I
but I'm
wanted to
curious.
guess Helaron
Oh, yeah.
because he went for Amaram on the field.
Yeah.
Have
I
we
don't think
guessed
that was-
Moash?
See, I was thinking Halloran earlier, and then Eric had to go look up about the parents. And like, well, if he has to look
that's
up
true.
about
That
the
is true.
parents,
We
then
know
it's
for a
probably
fact,
not
though,
Halloran.
True.
Technically,
Moash
though,
is
yeah.
Moash because we know at least one of his parents is dead.
It is not Moash/Vire, just to be clear.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking about Moash, but I'm pretty sure both of his parents are dead because he was raised by his grandparents.
Grandparents.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Yep.
I knew that, but I was like, maybe it was just maybe he only said on this page that one of his
Yeah,
parents
yeah.
was dead. Anyway, it was
Yeah. Well, you get a free
Man,
bonus
I
clue
gotta-
there, you
I
know?
need a new guess now.
it's got to be a dark eyes radiant if it's a radiant at all, because light eyes color doesn't change as far as
Well,
we
I've
know.
always wondered about that. Does the color change to match the order?
Not for light eyes, as far as we know.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know
there's no point where
Be clear on
Shalot has red eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't get red eyes.
That would be real cool,
That
though.
would be.
I know.
Oh, wow,
Light-eyed radiance eyes colors should change, but
They should,
Oh.
yeah.
To be fair,
I don't
Shalon
see-
can just light weave them, though, you know? So she could
but
have
then
red
what
eyes.
about the other red eye?
It
You
could also be a regal or a fused because they get the glowing eyes. But
It's all very true.
But do we know enough about their parents? And
yeah, I was like Raboniel's daughter, but I don't think
I
she has
was
a
just
sword.
thinking that.
Do you want that as your guess?
No, I don't trust it.
I don't trust it.
Also, like she dies before her parent dies, so I feel like that doesn't work for the first clue.
Hey,
Well, I don't know.
Look,
I
I had
can't
to
make
look
it.
up
I
her
can't make
dad,
it
you
square
know?
with assassination.
Well,
so it's like,
yeah.
What's yeah?
Oh,
I mean,
I'm passing on this clue.
Ooh,
'cause I-
okay.
wow.
Wow. Ooh, boy.
This is a tough
Okay.
one.
Maybe I'll give a bonus clue after clue 5.
can I
You
have the
don't get
clues
it.
again?
Huh?
Can I have the clues
Oh
again?
yeah, sure.
Mhm.
One of this character's parents is dead. This character has a sword. This character was involved in an assassination. This character's eye color changes when using investiture. Oh, and I almost said clue 5, but
I want to have a guess.
Has anyone else guessed on this clue? Because I guessed Moash, but I don't know if anyone else guessed on 4.
I haven't guessed yet.
Alyx tried.
I know I've had like so many that are like close but don't quite work, and I
But Alyx hasn't yet either.
Nope, she hasn't.
know.
Nope.
I feel like this last one is a trick, and it's some
Yeah.
like returned shenanigans.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know if this works. I'm gonna throw out lift.
It's not
Is it
lift.
lift?
Nope.
Like, I want it to be Vivenna
It's not Vivenna.
because her eyes changed because of the royal locks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't. Well, I mean, but sorry. What I mean is, it's not Vivenna. Sorry.
Yeah, they do, but she's not.
That's why it was so funny that your guy's like, "Are you sure it's not Vivenna?"
Let's go with Denth.
It's not Denth.
Thought about that.
Yeah,
Ian,
I've
you're
been
still
thinking.
passing.
But yeah, I'm still gonna pass.
All right, clue 5, and I do think there will be a bonus clue because this one is trickier.
Not
for
helpful.
Sure. Well, I mean, no, I mean it is helpful. This clue is
Okay.
helpful.
You just think
Okay.
it's going to be a tough one. Okay.
I just think it might be tough.
Okay.
Clue 5, this character wears white. And Zeth has already been guessed, by the way.
Yes, he has.
Is it? I was gonna guess. I was thinking in the Warbreaker. I was gonna go with Blue Fingers because I can't really remember Warbreaker.
Is that your guess?
They were
That's my guess.
brown.
Do they?
Yeah.
See, I don't remember enough.
Is that
I
your
only remember
guess,
because I
Shannon?
just read it.
Oh, that's nice. I figure it's not Blue Fingers because you just.
No, I haven't said yes or no. Do you still want that to be your guess?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
No, it's not the fingers. Just had to be clear. Like, Jess saved you before I confirmed. So it's like, I don't know.
Gotcha.
Is it
Gotcha.
Susabron?
It's not Susabron.
No, he
Thank
wears
you.
white.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'm pretty sure Vin has a white dress at some point, but I think we already guessed Vin. I think I already
did.
guessed
You
Vin.
did. You did.
Ben was already guessed.
Yeah.
Oh, and we already guessed Elend. He wears white.
Yep. Oh, yep. We
Yep.
guessed.
Yep.
Characters that wear white.
Is
Yeah.
it like full white or is it like bits of white?
I would say full white. How about that?
Okay.
Not just like one white article. thing.
Raoden?
It's not Raoden.
Okay.
Can
Are
I
you gonna
pass
message
my
me?
guess to
Are you
Shannon?
gonna Are you gonna message me,
have
Shannon?
I'll message you.
Yeah, why don't you message me?
Oh god.
I just had this crazy idea, and I don't know enough about this character to
Oh, okay.
remember
Okay.
if some
I
of
think
it.
I gotta pass. I don't think I
This
have
is like
anything.
I gotta reread Cosmere.
I'm so excited to see what your guess is.
No.
I think
Oh, no,
I
it's
think
not
I gotta
them.
go for the bonus
It's
clue.
not- no, it is not.
Mhm.
I was just like,
I'm tapped.
I got excited for you, but no, that's
I
a
was like-
nope there. Sorry. Are you passing?
Where's white?
Are we
I
we
think
done
so,
with
yeah.
this one?
Dead
think
parent
so.
has a sword.
Yeah.
No, where's
No.
white?
Hmm.
Eyes
Oh,
change
that-
color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll give you a bonus clue. This clue will be helpful. So I was originally going to say this character is definitely not from Roshar, but you guys kind of figured that out already. I'll say this character is from Taldane.
Oh no, I don't know
Kenton.
anything.
It is Kenton. Hey!
I don't know
I've
anything.
only read the first two chapters once 3 years ago.
Yeah, Kenton's
4 years
dice.
ago.
His eye color.
Yeah, it's Sand Mastery. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I have not read White Sand.
That's why I was like, oh, this is going to be really
Never
hard because
would've
it's
got
a White
there.
Sand thing.
I know
Yeah.
two White Sand characters, and Kenton is one of
on
them.
my shelf.
Yeah.
I haven't.
I have no memory of there being an eye color change.
Why does his eye color
On.
change? Do we know why?
The art and Sand Mastery, I guess, from the yeah.
Okay, so this is it's the art type thing.
Well, I mean,
Instead
it
of,
might be a
like,
thing.
instant magic.
I don't know.
We'll
We'll have to see in the omnibus.
From the prose.
Anyway.
If you know more about White Sand and why Kenton's eye color changes, put it in the comments and please help us out.
The best part is that theoretically, maybe the White Sand omnibus in English will already be out by the time this episode comes out. So
We'll be able to find an answer.
That's optimistic.
yes, I mean, you're not wrong here. Okay, cool. So this last one will be from our Who's That Cosmere character priority queue, which you can do if you are a Herald on Patreon. And we have a lot to get through of these, really, but maybe we need to do a Who's That Cosmere character episode where it's oops, all priority queue.
Yeah.
But this one is from Cyprian Wiley and Clue 1. This character is hard! Exclamation mark.
I feel like
Rock.
I just guessed. Oh, that's funny.
That's not wrong. And don't take that dirty either, okay? All right. This is all safe for work. This is a factual
These are
statement.
Brandon books.
Is
Yeah, these are
it
Brandon books.
Relaine?
It's not related. No, that's good too. I like that.
I was like,
Is
Carapace.
it Wapam?
No, it's not Uapam. The Peak Spren.
Peakspren.
Unlike Ben, I actually know who these characters are. No, just kidding. Ben does know them.
I know who Oapum is.
Yeah.
Upam's great.
Him and Zoo.
Yes.
By heart.
Yeah.
Very
They're really
fun.
great.
Hope we see more of them.
I hope they're in the next book.
Yeah.
We could get a novella that's just like the group going back from Losing Integrity back to Erethero, so we can get like all of the characters that just kind of were there for no reason and got no more story. That'd be nice.
Love that.
They could
No,
have
they
some
get-
shenanigans in Shadesborough. Shadesborough shenanigans.
They get sidetracked and they end up in the Horneater Peaks. So they're there in Horneater.
There we go. Solved it.
This character is hard! Exclamation point.
Yes.
Mhm.
You said exclamation point.
Yeah, that's what the clue says. I felt it might be relevant, perhaps.
It might be.
Maybe. I don't know. I just had to laugh because that's just such a funny
I'm
first
just like,
clue.
I had a guess for other ones, and I'm just like, what if I repeat a guess? I don't know.
The sibling, because
It's not
they
the
manifest in
sibling.
that
I like
physical
that.
realm.
I like that, but no, it's not the
Okay.
sibling. Clue 2, this character can communicate.
Is it Nightblood?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Wow.
One at a time.
Nightblood.
It is Nightblood. Hey,
Okay.
there you go.
There you go.
That's the repeat. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that was my alternative to Clue 1. I was like, which one do I want to do first?
I was
Oh,
gonna do
yeah.
a Clue 1, but I'm just like, I just won on Nightblood, like on the stream, like my last
Yeah.
stream. So I was
Yeah.
like,
Well, we didn't do a
Okay.
priority queue on the stream, so.
I
Very
was just
nice.
asking clarification because I couldn't tell if you said can or can't.
Oh,
Communicate.
Sure,
I think-
sure.
I think me and Jess said that at the exact same time. We'll chalk that up to internet lag. But
Oh, yeah, I couldn't quite parse. Like, I heard a
he
Nightblood.
said we
but
both
I'm-
said Nightblood.
We both
nice.
said it.
Nice.
Split the point.
Clue 3, this character is used. Clue 4, depending on your definition, this character may be alive. And Clue 5, this character is currently not on the world where its creators come from.
There you go.
But I mean, I just love the Clue 1. This character is hard.
Yep.
Nice.
Not that I'd want to test that, because
No, you
I
don't
would
want to get
die.
anywhere
Probably
near
not.
that. No, not even a little
Don't-
bit.
Don't touch it.
I mean,
Nightblood, not even
Does
once.
the hardness of Nightblood really matter when you get vaporized touching it?
It's like how hard is a shard blade, you know? Does it matter?
Infinitely. Enough. Very. Magically.
It's like
yeah.
it's like if a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it, like, did it make a sound? Except, like, is it really hard if you can't test it because everything it touches turns to vapor?
It's true. What if it's the most brittle sword ever, but it's just that good?
Brittle is still hard.
That's true.
True.
That's a good point. Good point.
True.
Welcome to Hardcast.
no.
Okay.
We're talking about the Mohs scale.
Yeah. Let's talk about sapphires and diamonds. It's actually very interesting.
Oh boy.
All right, everyone. Thanks for coming by. You can find us on 17chart.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun. We got an awesome Discord server with so many people. And there's a lot going on. Span Reads is still going on. Probably Diceborn's still going by the time this episode comes out, but I don't know, probably. But there's a lot of content for you to look at in September, which is when this is happening, maybe. So yeah, it's weird recording this in June. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, where we post our art that we commission. You can support our Patreon for a mere $1 and get outtakes. You can get Span Reads a few days early. You can you can vote on our art that we have every month, and yeah, it's pretty sweet. So you can support it for as low as $1 every month, and you can do more if you want. I don't know. And yeah, so we will see you all next time for something else. I don't know.
Something.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Call.